I think this is working. I was coming in the house and, I was making something quick to eat, and I just sat down and it was so hot, and I was just gonna come on and rant about the dentists again and how hard it is and how weird things are and just everything that's wrong. And then as I'm waiting for the computer to rev up and I'm waiting for YouTube to come up, I'm going to check Twitter, and then I pop up at the top. I look at it, popped up at the top, and I saw that Olivia Newton-John died. Now listen, I am not rare for my generation of wanting to be Olivia Newton-John as a little girl, loving Olivia Newton-John. Like I said I wanted to be Tawny Kitaen when I was in high school. That was true when I was little. I couldn't decide, like 5, 6 years old. I couldn't decide if I wanted to be Olivia Newton-John or Donna Summer. When I was like in the 6th grade, I couldn't decide if I wanted to be Madonna or Tina Turner. And then when I got to high school, I was just pretty certain I wanted to be Tawny Kitaen. But yeah, I mean, Xanadu. I had the album. This is like the only album I had as a little kid. Like I had like kid album, like Wizard of Oz or something. But then for some reason I had the soundtrack. It was like it wasn't. I don't know that it was 2 records, but it folded, and it was the soundtrack for Xanadu. It's somewhere in here still. I remember there's a picture of Jeff Lynne on the back from ELO, and I thought he was George Lucas. I thought that was the guy that made Star Wars, because the guy who made Star Wars looked like that, and I thought for some reason his picture was on the back of that album. But yeah, so I know everybody loves Grease. I've watched Grease a million times too, obviously, but it was Xanadu all the way for me, all the way. It still is. I still love Xanadu. I mean, the last number of Xanadu, that's still, like, I don't know what it is about that song, and the way I wanted to be her right then and there, where at the end when her hair's all fluffy and out and she's got that, like, that, is it a one piece? It's like she's got the heels, and she changes her clothes a couple times in the big ending number, but to the song Xanadu. Just when that kicks in, I still get so psyched. I remember going to see, her and John Travolta did another movie together. I saw that in the theater. And she had that big, I really liked the song Twist of Fate. I mean, I pretty much like all of Olivia's songs from the movies and stuff like that. She obviously had huge hits with, like, Physical, and it's just all the great stuff is either really old and going away, or it's back in the past. And it's so hard when I think of not even just being a little kid, just I can't stress how much better things were. And it's so hard to think of them sometimes with the world the way it is, because like I said, sometimes I feel like I have like heart memories or soul memories or something. So if I think close enough to a time, even if it's like the 90s and grunge or whatever, like especially with music, but with movies and events and things like that, if you remember it well enough, you can remember the way you felt and you can feel it again. And sometimes when I feel the feelings of long ago in the present, like I have that feeling memory, it almost makes me sick. Because the clash between how I feel now, just being a person on earth, not that I'm always depressed or always anything like that, it's just the feeling of being alive in 2022 is so completely different than the feeling of being alive back in the day, that it's like too much of a clash. It's like your heart wants to have a thunderstorm to clear the air, because the air or the feeling is so different, and just the clash of it is violent inside, and it's just Now, Olivia was one of the first people I remember talking about breast cancer and having breast cancer and really putting it out there. And I know that she started foundations and stuff well before, I'm pretty sure it was well before all these other cancer charities and stuff like that. But she wasn't a jerk about it. You know, the way sometimes it seems like some of these other charities are really just about other things instead of really helping people. And I'm sure some of them do help people. I'm not trying to insult anybody whose mother or grandma or sister or anybody had cancer and was helped by these charities. It just seems like it doesn't seem pure to me. And but Olivia, she recovered way back then, and then in recent years, I don't know if she's had more than one bout, but I know she's been going through it for a while. And, you know, she developed the attitude that I always had about death and dying. And she said, I don't want to know when I'm going to die, you know, because that's what happens. I mean, when you go to the doctors, even when you're not sick, they want to tell you your risks, and they want to tell you about, you know, and it's like, who wants to know all their risks? Who wants to know? Do you really want to know how long you have to live, whether you have a disease or not? Would you really want to know? And I think if most people sat there and thought about it, they'd say no, but we've been on this thing. And it started sometime after, like I said, probably the late 80s, after she had her first bout with the cancer, where it started to become fashionable to try to be super healthy and, you know, mitigate all your risks for every disease, whether it's cancer or heart disease or colon cancer or whatever. And, you know, but in reality, you should just be enjoying your life. You shouldn't be knocking yourself out, making you sick with all kinds of drugs and remedies and things like that that make a lot of money for certain entities, just so that you can prove to other people that you don't want to die, so you can put up a brave fight and you can know your risks and you can prove how awesome you are for taking your life seriously or whatever. And it's just like, nobody knows when they're going to die. There's plenty of healthy people that die in car accidents. You know, weird shit happens. People get stung by a bee and they didn't know they were allergic, or, you know, things happen all the time and nobody ever really knows when they're going to die. But to sit there and just try to think about forcing the medical establishment, trying to force people to fear their death all the time, you know, I've always been against it. That's why I try not to talk about that stuff, because I know if I say that, a lot of people are going to get offended. But when she said, I forgot if it was last year or the year before, she just said, I don't want to know when I'm going to die, because that's what it seems like they tell people who are going through this. Like, you have this long to live and blah, blah, blah. And you always hear about the stories of the people who overcame the odds and they were told they only had 6 months to live and now it's 10 years later. You know what I mean? Which just proves the doctor should shut up in the first place. But I also believe in the power of suggestion. I think that really works on me. So when somebody says something negative, I don't know why, it's like I will immediately have that problem. So I don't want people to make me think I'm going to have a disease or I may have a disease. Just let me live my life. And when I die, I die. You know what I mean? And just, I don't want to be worried all the time. I don't want to run all over town after symptoms and tests and screenings. And when I say that, they look at me like I'm an idiot, or they look at me like I'm an asshole if I say that to a doctor. This is why I don't go to the doctors. Not because I don't want to know what's wrong with me, because I don't want to have that argument all the time. I've been having these arguments for years. And it's like, when you have Mass Health or one of these like Medicare type things, and they force you to get a primary care doctor with insurance, now there's a person who thinks they own your life. Like your life belongs to them, and I can't stand it, you know? And so that she finally said towards it, I don't know. I was like, see, after all that, after all these years of going back and forth, she's like, I don't want to know when I'm going to die. And I just wish everybody else could come to that realization that that's not how you're supposed to live your life. You know, you're supposed to live it, not fear dying. You know, but for a while she was here, she was amazing. She seemed like such a nice lady. She had that whole weird situation with the boyfriend, or I forgot if he was her husband or just boyfriend, who disappeared. But she just seemed so sweet and just so awesome, and she's so pretty and a beautiful voice like an angel. And I mean, how many times have we sung her songs? Like I said, there's nobody Gen X my age, you know. I'm, you know, 48. Like I said, anybody my age, they either wanted to be Olivia Newton-John or wanted to be somebody just like Olivia Newton-John. I don't care if they're an actress or they're, you know, a construction worker. They wanted to be Olivia Newton-John at some point. I don't have Xanadu. I don't have it to watch. I can play it in my head. But, yeah, I can play it in my head. I love the whole soundtrack. Like I said, when Xanadu kicks in at the end, and it like, dun 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 dun, you know, Xanadu, right in there, it really, that's the moment for me. And I loved the movie when it wasn't cool to love the movie. I loved it ever since I was a kid. I never didn't say that I loved it. I will never stop wearing leg warmers. I mean, yeah, it's hot now, but every winter I have bought leg warmers. I love that movie. Yeah, she was just so cool. I just can't, I mean, it just hit me again. It's just like, she's so golden and just such a symbol of I don't know, just golden niceness or something. I don't even know how to explain it, but she wasn't a stupid person. She wasn't nice in the negative way. You know what I mean? She was very cool. But like I said, it's because of the disease and having it off and on, and you know, it does make some people aware of their life, and everybody should be aware that you could go at any time, and you should. So I'm sure she did everything. She said everything she needed to say to people, and everybody should do that. And there was a time when I was like, if she's sick again, they should do like a thing. They should do like a tribute to her. I don't know if they ever did. I never saw any. I know there are a lot of people. Like, I'm fairly certain Mariah Carey really liked her. Such an idol of my whole generation, and I'm sure all the boys liked her. Maybe their dads. But such a bright light. When these bright lights go out, these big bright lights, like Robin Williams, like Olivia Newton-John, when these big bright lights, and it's a specific kind of brightness I'm talking about. You know, it's sad when we lose any famous people, but I'm just talking about a specific kind of bright light. And it just hit me. I feel so bad for John Travolta. Did Kelly die last year? He's had too much. Jesus. I know she has children, or at least a kid. I don't know if she's got more than one kid. But oh man, I'm just gonna watch as many of her songs as I can. But like I said, I don't need to play them. There's a special on here somewhere on YouTube of her and Andy Gibb and ABBA, and I didn't see it when I was young, but when I watched it, I was like, was this real life? Was this actual Xanadu? Did they film this in heaven? You know, because in absolute paradise, because they're all angels, even if they hadn't all passed away, just, you know what I mean? So watch that. But she's too good for this world. There's a lot of people too good for this world anyway. I hate this world's pile of shit. So it's not like I needed her to stay here and worry or be sick or anything like that. So, like I said, God's been assembling this chorus for years. For years and years and years. I kind of think he started with Freddie Mercury. Then he started just picking up people like Frank Sinatra and George Michael and just picking up this amazing chorus. So anyways, I'm sad for everybody who loved her, including myself. I just want to go back. I want to go back. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in 2022. I want to be back then.